We are live. Hello again, everybody. Wanted to hop back on here real quick. Welcome to the stream. I've had a lot of thoughts about how to approach this action. It's the first time I've ever made a GitHub action before, and I've made some mistakes already. One of them is assuming that I need to use Docker, which I don't. If we look at GitHub's actions, GitHub already provides a container for me. My brain just did not think about that. So if I come to some of my actions here, and I've got two examples. So the first one is that we are using as our template, basically. I'm in the wrong spot. Here we go. Let's go to the YAML for the workflow for the blog posts. So if we look here, I'm telling GitHub to, in this first job, to give me the latest Ubuntu. And inside of this Ubuntu container, run the checkout action and run the blog post action. So I don't have to use Docker in my action at all. There's already an Ubuntu container provided for me. What I wanted to do real quick was look at, I have another action. This updates the badge on my profile for the total PowerShell gallery downloads that I have for my two modules on the PowerShell gallery, Admin Toolkit and Help Desk. And so here again, I'm giving this action a schedule, and I'm telling it to run on Windows, which I could easily change this. It probably should be Ubuntu. That would probably load up faster. And again, I'm saying run this checkout and run this file. And this file is in the context of the checked out repository. So that's a huge, that tells me exactly where I need to go to run my script. Or let me rephrase that, where my script has to go to grab the README. So inside of this container, once I check it out, I'm already in the context of this action, or in the action places me in the context of the checked out repository if I use this checkout here. So in this case, I'm just saying check out my profile repository and then run this GitHub scripts update PowerShell badge downloads PS1 file with PowerShell. So that tells me that PowerShell 7, which PWSH is the acronym for that, that this container comes with that. And if it doesn't, it will at least install it on the fly for me. So I don't have to worry about getting my own Docker container, having that container already have PowerShell installed and all that stuff. It looks like GitHub handles that for me. So that was the first sort of hiccup that happened in the first stream, but we're learning. So I don't need Docker, which is great. I've had some other thoughts as well. If we come and look at the script I've been working on. So if you weren't with me last time in my first stream, what I'm trying to do is recreate the MySpace top 8 sort of section, and you can put that on your profile in GitHub. So let's go to your profile. If you create a repository with the same name as your GitHub username, it immediately becomes this fancy secret profile. And the README of that repository shows up on your GitHub profile homepage, whatever. So my username, my GitHub username is Matthew J. DeGarmo. So I've created a repository. Let me make this a little bigger. I think it was a little too small last time. So I've made a repository, use my username, and I've made a repository that's the same as my username. And GitHub will tell me, hey, this is a special repository. Its README will show up in your public profile. So when people come to my GitHub page, it's not just the default, oh, here's some repositories, here's how many commits, things like that. It actually renders all this markdown. And so here's the README of the repo, but this happens to show up on my homepage. Excuse me. So here is where I've put some scripts and stuff. The second workflow that we just looked at, this badge here shows up on my profile, and it just, every hour it goes and checks how many PowerShell gallery downloads do I have. And right now it's 282 total between both of these. And if that is larger than the number on the back end of this badge, then it'll go and replace this badge with the new number, and then this new, 283 or whatever will show up. So I've got my own workflow for that. I've just saved that script in here. Scripts. And I point to this script here. And so this is for me specifically for this badge, but this gives me an idea of how to run an action. If people reference my action, it probably just needs to have a script available to it. And I'm not exactly sure how to pass paths and things to my action. If we come back up to GitHub, workflow, blog posts. So I'm going to say use my top 8 action. And I would say, user list is some text file. And that text file would have your top 8 people. So I need to figure out, in the context of my action, not of this repository that we're going to check out, people's profile repository, I need to figure out, in the context of when my action runs, it needs to be able to locate this text file. So a little bit of work to do there. I'm not exactly sure how we can test that, but knowing that, we should be able to build a structure of this script that we can test. A few thoughts I've had since the last time. So that's this project. We want to recreate the top 8, and I want it to show up on a profile like this, just a section here that would have your top 8 people. Again, they would be GitHub users, a GitHub version of the MySpace top 8. What I was trying to do before was figure out, make this a little bigger as well. I was trying to figure out how to find the start of the markdown for this top 8 section of code that I'm going to create, and the end, and figure out how to just replace what's in the middle. But after thinking about it, I think what I need to do is, since I can figure out what line of the file that starts and ends, what I can do is, this basically will be 3 variables, and I jotted some notes down here. Okay. So something to look into, instead of replacing the code, I would make 3 variables. So I would have a variable, something like pre-section content, and this will grab the very start of my profile up until the start of the top 8 section. And it'll just save that and say, in this variable, this is everything that came before. Don't touch this, but I'm going to save it off for later. I have another variable that is the actual content of the top 8, whatever HTML or Markdown that we go with. And this is the actual content that I'm going to replace. And then a post section content. This is everything after the section. And this may be empty. It's possible that this will come first, that the top 8 is the first thing in the repository or in the README file, or it could be the last thing. But either way, we need to figure this out. And then what I can do in PowerShell, you can just piece strings together. For example, I could just say pre-section equals just a bunch of garbage. And I will end that. So now I have a string called, quote at. There we go. Now I have a string called pre-section. And it actually starts with a new line. I don't think I want that. Let me get rid of this. Oh, I guess I have to. Never mind. Okay, pre-section. I'll just say section at quote. Replace me, please. Quote at. Whoops. And then post section. Again, just a bunch of garbage. Quote at. There we go. So we have pre-section. Let me make this bigger as well. Pre-section, section, and post. So what I can do is PowerShell can just combine these together. Pre-section, section, post section. And this will become like the full top to bottom README. So if I want to replace section, I mean, here I would just exclude it. And this is the README without the section, the top 8 code at all. So all I have to do is keep the pre-section, paste in the, some variable called new section. If the top 8 switches, you put Tom #1, that markdown is going to change the formatting, and you want to have that new section in there and then keep what's at the end. Well, there's nothing for a new section, so that's going to be empty, but let's just create that real quick. New section equals I am the new section. Oops, I always get those backwards. Quote at. There we go. So now when I run this, notice here's the original with this replace me please, and this is the new one. It's the exact same, whatever was before. We plug in whatever we want to change, and then everything stays the same after. And this is much easier to do than what I was trying to do. Figure out filtering and all kinds of weird stuff. There. If this is too small, let me know in the chat if you're on, and I can make this bigger or smaller. I'm streaming on a 27-inch monitor, which is just 1920 by 1080, but my main monitor is a 49-inch 5120 by 1440, so I can't stream from this one, and I'm very used to the code being very small, so I can see a ton of it. So I'm getting used to trying to code with this being so large. It's just new to me. So I no longer need to do this technique here. This stuff's useful. Finding the line numbers. So this start index and end index that we created last time, this is still useful. What I need to do next is, with these numbers, create these 3 sections, these variable sections. So create a in this case, we're using the blog code just to make sure the code works. And then we'll, replace this with whatever format my action's going to use. And I'll just have to write a blog on how to do this. And, I'll say my top 8 section list start, whatever I want. But for now, we actually have a file. It's got content between these 2 markers. So this is a great way. We'll just test with this, get it working, and then change it for the whatever MySpace code we're going to use. So I don't need any of this. We can just get rid of it. So we have the start index of our section and the end index of our section. So pre-section content would equal profile content from ranges 0, which is the beginning of the file, all the way until, I actually want this in parentheses, so start So this will go all the way to and include the second number. So this start index, which I believe is 29, but we want to end right before 29. So I'm actually going to go start index -1. I want from the beginning of the file up until the line before our section starts. So that's why I'm doing that subtract 1. And I can say post section content equals, this will be, the start of this is going to be the end index +1. Because again, we don't want to start on the end index, which is this ending line. I want whatever's next. And so we can get rid of this. And in the context of referencing indexes in arrays, so this is, item number 0 in this array of lines. A very easy way to get, if you don't know how many items are in an array and you want to get, so starting from the beginning of the array, I want the 0 item. I don't know what the item is, but I want the 0 item. I want the number 1 item. You can do that from the end of the array coming backwards. So if I don't know how many, like I want the last line of this file, but I don't want it, in this case, maybe the file is 42 lines long. I could put 42 here, or 41 technically. If there were 42 lines, it would be index 41 of the array. That just applies to my profile. That doesn't apply to anyone else's. So an easy way to reference the last item is -1. I want the -1 item in the array, which is the last item. Now, in whatever weird case, if you needed the second to last item, that'd be -2. So you can count from the beginning going up, starting at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can count backwards from the end by adding the negative. So the -1 item, the -2 item. There is no -0. You wouldn't put like the start of the file is, the start of the array is 0. The end of the array would be -0. There's nothing like that. It starts at -1. So this will go from the beginning to the line before the start index. So that's the whole before section. And the post section is going to go from the line after the end index all the way up until the last line of the file. And these two can be the exact same. Or let's say this is the last line of the file, and let's say that's on line 35, or let's say index 35. Then this index would be 36. Because this -1 would then be 35. I'll have to play with this. Maybe I might have to do some logic to see, because if 35 was the last index, I'm saying give me ranges 36 to 35. And that might look weird. But we'll get to that later. At least we've created these sections. I should make the section itself. Current section equals profile content from, and we've already got these figured out, from start index and go all the way to and include the end index. Okay, so what we can do now to test this is I could just post, or just write like the post section content. And so it'll do all this calculation, but it's only going to output whatever's after the blog post, which I don't think there is anything, but I'm curious to see what it looks like. What's the file called? Oh, start. Whoops. I need to come down here. Oh, I don't have that. I don't have it checked out anymore. That's very strange. I need to, for some reason, I got rid of my profile to test with. So I'm going to have to save that command real quick. Git clone. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this will reclone into my top 8. And now this command. So I want to run this script. The path to the profile I want to give it is exactly where we are, my top 8, Matthew J. DeGarmo, readme. So let's run this, and this should just give me blog post. Oh, it went backwards. It literally reversed. It reversed the whole array. It showed me the end. Yeah, that's weird. I think this is what happens when, I don't think there is an index after this line. I think this is literally the last line of my README file. Let's look at this real quick. We can edit this and it'll take you right into where the README is. Yeah, so the last line, well, it's got these empty lines, but let's play with this real quick. I want to show profile content and index +1. That's all it'll show me. It should just show me one line, and it's an empty line. So let's do end index +2. Whoops. Meant to save. There should be an empty line there, and there isn't. If we go +3, what does this do? Nothing. So +1 is the farthest we can go, and I think that already is the end index. Show me this. Get content must not read in the trailing new lines. Like it doesn't include them. Let me see, because this has 38 lines in it. So if I do a get content, text equals $37. Yeah, no, it is. It is getting those blank lines. So give me the last item in this array. It's a blank line. But it's only grabbing one of the blank lines. It's only grabbing when I import. Yeah, this is just a file ending new line, and apparently PowerShell is ignoring it. I wonder if we add raw to this. Like, oh, I guess I could test that down here. Text equals get content, raw. Text.count. Oh. Never mind, I don't want that. I guess raw puts it as one string. But if I do this, it brings it in. PowerShell processes it and knows there's a new line at the end. I'm going to make a new array item, an object for each line, which is what I want. So I don't want raw. What else does get content have? Tail. Nothing. So if this gives me 37, it should be 38. So I'll have to have some logic here that says, see, and I could calculate this automatically instead of relying on -1, which is my problem. I'm referencing 38 in the array when there is no 38 item. there's a 37. That's the end. So I'm saying go from 38 to 37. And it just breaks and it goes from just the end of the file to the beginning because I broke the syntax. And so I need to calculate what's the actual last item, which is not hard. I will need to end of file index equals profile content dot count minus 1 because there's 37 lines starting from 1, but my array starts from 0. So if there's line numbers 1 to 37, my array reference is 0 to 36. So this will give me 37, subtract 1, 36. 36 is the index of the end of my file. I'll actually need to move that up here. End of file index. Probably all I need. And then I will have to make sure that end index plus 1 is not greater than or equal to the end of the file index. And if it is, then I don't do a post section because there is no post section. The section's at the end of the file. This is great. Getting a bunch of edge cases in my own profile. So I want to, what did I just say? Make sure that end index or even end index plus 1 is not greater than or equal to. Because there could be one line at the end, just a, I don't know, farewell message, one line. So I want to say end index plus 1 is not greater than or equal to. If I need to wrap these in quotes again. I mean, parentheses, end index plus 1. If it is greater than or equal to profile content dot count. Oh, I've already got that calculated end of file index. If it is greater than or equal to, oops. If this is true, then post section content needs to be empty. Post section content equals system string empty. Otherwise, it can equal this. It'll actually have content. And I can replace that because we've already calculated what the last index is. Okay, let's run this again. So this will, oh, I just want to write post section content to make sure that, because before when we outputted post section content, it was the whole file in reverse. So now if we run, oh man. Great, we got a new line, one single new line. PowerShell included a new line just by default. So, okay, that worked. If I come into that README, like I said, someone might add, farewell, folks, just some text here to show up. Okay. That changed to 38. I want to write end of file just to see what this is actually calculating. I also want end index. Save that. Run this script again. Oh, that's not good. Blog post list end. Oh, I forgot to take the raw off up there. I probably didn't need any of this. Okay. Yeah, that broke it. So the end of the file is 37, which actually means because I added content to the end here, now there's 38 items in the array, but the end array index is 37. Before, remember text.count gave me 37, and we subtract 1 from that, which means I'm going from 0 to 36. So now I'm going 0 to 37 because PowerShell is no longer ditching this last new line. It's not regarding it as nothing. So I would be correctly pasting this new line and the last line of the file all the way to the end of the file after the section. So I want the pre-section, the section, and then I'm correctly calculating everything after this section. If I get rid of this again, let's go to the script and walk through this. So the end index is 35. The end of the file is one more line. So I'm saying, well, hang on. Before I say this out loud, I want to make sure that that's accurate. I'll add it to this line because we're ignoring this. And I'm saying, yeah, let's just run this real quick. I don't want to say something that's wrong. Yeah, so this is still not correct. Because I should be reading this. Let's render this real quick. Open preview, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so it does just render as text here at the end. Oh, that's so cool. There's an extension in VS Code that I have that lets you just render Markdown, render CSVs, Excel sheets, HTML right inside of VS Code. Let me go to my extensions real quick. Oh, installed. It already showed installed here. What is it called? I've got all the Azure stuff. HTML preview, that's one of them. Rainbow CSV, that doesn't render, but it helps you see CSVs. Where is the, oh, Markdown all-in-one. This is the extension that I like. You just install it, and then on your Markdown files, you will have an open preview. Same thing with if you have the HTML extension. Where's that at? I just found it. Oh, YAML. That's not a preview though. HTML preview. If I had an HTML file, I could right click open preview, and instead of opening it in Internet Explorer or something, it would just render right inside of this. And this is really cool because you can put these side by side. So I could be editing this README in real time. New code here. And see, it's on the same line. So I know for Markdown, I actually need a blank line in between these for it to render on the new line. So you can like test this in real time. I want to make this bold. Yeah, it's just really cool having these extra extensions. But I don't need that preview anymore. So I need to figure out how to grab this. I need to figure out how to not ditch one good line after the file. Let me save this. I wonder if there is no trailing. Yeah, end of file. It still reads still reads the end of the file as 36. So even if I do have a blank line here, it still ignores it. So my logic is still bad. What if I get rid of this +1? Okay, we've got it there. Whoops, let me do this original test again, make sure both of these work still. Okay, getting rid of the +1 worked, but I still don't know why. The end index. Oh, okay. I'm saying if this line is the end of the file, then give me a blank, an empty string. With the +1, I'm saying if this is the end of the file, ignore it. So it's early, my brain wasn't working. I don't need that +1. Even if I get rid of this should still give me a blank line, because the end of the file is index 36, which means line 37. Yeah, so it's rendering this extra white space. Okay, I think this is good. That is the correct logic. Then post section will be empty. Let me move these up a little bit so this isn't too confusing. Okay, so we've calculated our pre-section, the actual section, and our end of the file. I may need to do this if the top 8 is at the beginning of the file. I'll just have to move the blog post and test that in a sec, but I don't need this anymore. What I need now is, I don't need to write this out. I should string together the pre-section content, current section, post-section content. Out string. Will that work? Sweet. So I know this looks like I'm just reading in the file, pasting it out as is. That's essentially what I'm doing. But the fact that it works means I'm doing this correctly. So I'm correctly piecing, here's the pre-section, here's the section, and the post section is one empty line here. So that's great. I can prove that that is still working if I remove current section. Yep. This is here because this is not within the section, the blog post section. So I may have to think about that too. No, if someone's going to put a title on the top 8 section, that's on them. Like if I was going to get rid of my blog, I would also have to be in charge of removing this code or something as well. So I think we're good. That works. So we now have a way, if we need to recreate the profile to include either include the code for the first time. Because basically when you make this, like when I made this blog post thing, this code is put here automatically. It is rendered for me. What I was in charge of doing was creating this in my profile, save it, publish it to GitHub, and then wait for my action to run. My action is automatically going to do this. Oh, here's the start, here's the end. I don't care what's in the middle. This needs to go there. And I guess my action could do the same thing, because when you try to push, like let's say that my action comes in here, creates a new README, overwrites the original, and tries to git push. If the README is the exact same, Git is not going to push it up. So I think we can overwrite the file every time. Or, oh, here's a good test. Let me get that. Let me get that stuff back. I want to compare. what was this called? Current section. I want to see if I can compare my Frankenstein piecing of the file back together with the actual original. And then I can compare the original README. Here's the whole string. Compare that to, here's my three pieces, pre, section, and post. And if they're the exact same, then don't push, just quit. If they're not the same, then I need to overwrite, commit, and push back to GitHub. Yeah, okay, so this is going to be assembled profile equals this. And we already have profile content, but when I do this out string here, let me get rid of this for just a sec. I need to confirm something. So I'm going to get all this text back out. Without the out string, this would look the exact same, but behind the scenes, it's three objects. I'm pasting back one object, which is a bunch of lines of the pre section, the current section, and then post section. So it would be three items. Out string takes that and turns it into one whole big string that spans multiple lines, like we messed with before. So if I'm going to compare things, they actually need to be the exact content and the exact type. So I'm going to compare one string that's 36 lines to another string, one string that's 36 lines. So what I'll have to do is profile content. I'll just say profile content string equals profile content out string. Now this is doing the same thing as if I were to do get content path raw. Raw turns it into one string, but I can't do that here because I need the indexes and I need to do all this math and stuff. But to compare at the end, I'll just write it to a single string and we'll go from there. So now that I have two, I guess this could stay, but this will get out. Let me, I'll just comment that out so I'm not confusing anything. So this is going to get written out to PowerShell down here. So what I can do is text equals this, the output of this. So now nothing gets written because I captured it in a variable. So there's the output of my file, which is actually three variables pieced together inside of out string. So the count should be one. If I remove this, oh my gosh, whoops. If I remove that, save, do this again, text will look the exact same, but it's actually three things. Yeah, perfect. So before I do the compare, I need to compare them as the same format. So this is a single string. I need to make that a single string, and I want to say, wait. I wonder how I do this compare. Pre-section, wait. Oh, this is where I need to put this back. Assembled profile equals profile content string. So I need to compare assembled profile. I wonder if I can do it this way. This should just return true or false. Wow, very cool. If I take this away, it's the same content, but it's not one string comparing to one string anymore. So it doesn't even, okay. So I would say, whoops, if assembled profile equals that, they are the same. No changes need to be made. But if they're not, so if this returns anything, which in this case, it'll return true if it's actually true. Then it's true, and it will run this. Because this isn't returning anything, which means my operator here failed because it can't even do the compare because they're not the same. That comes back as false because nothing came back. So Booleans in PowerShell, you can use 1 or a 0 as true or false. You can use the value true or false, like the word, or just the fact that it's I got something back and it wasn't an error. That's true. If I get an error back, it's false. Or if I get nothing back, it's false. So that's how I know that it's working correctly. And I'm going to just output some text so that we get some output when I run this. But I know that that's what's happening. PowerShell handles Booleans very dynamically. So let's write an else here. And I want to say new top 8 content. Let's say git commit m new my top 8 I will just I'm just writing these so it looks like that command's actually running. So git push. I'll save this. There we go. So I am getting false back. It's not an error. This didn't break. It's just when if looks for a Boolean, it looks for it in all those different forms. 1 or a 0, true or false. Any content that's not an error, and an error or nothing. Those are false. So this is working properly. Right now, I don't have the out string here. So this is 3 objects comparing to 1. They're not equal. So I'm running this section. Need to publish new content, git commit, git push. If I put this back, so they are in the same format. And this operator here, this check if they're equal, can actually properly compare, and it will come back true, which I know we just tested that. We know it'll come back true. I'll just get they're the same, no changes. There we go. So that's how we'll do this. We can just sort of Frankenstein piece the profile together, do some formatting, make sure it's one string, and then do that compare. And that's much easier than what I was trying to do before. So I'm going to have to create a function. I'll just do it up here. We're not going to write this right now, but let's see, get current top 8 section. So I'm just writing an empty function. I'll fill this in later, but this is how I always write my code. If I write nested functions, everything's wrapped in a region. Region, the name of this doesn't have to be the name of the function. This could be anything. The PowerShell interpreter just goes from, oh, I see region. I will go until I see end region. And this lets me collapse that section of code. So if I have, eventually 5 little helper functions up here, I can just have them all collapsed. I know that they're there and I can reference them if I need to. It just helps the code look cleaner. I could do this here, region, calculating section indexes. And then I could have end region, calculating section indexes, and then I could just collapse that. And I know what's going on in sections of the code, and I can expand it if I need to look at it. But it really helps get a better bird's eye view of what code is where, what's doing what, blah, blah, blah. So let me expand this and finish writing this function out. Get current top 8 section. Whoops. Mainlet binding. I don't know what parameters I'll need yet, so that can stay empty. Process. Okay. And I will just say this returns, for now, an empty string. If I were to call on this, it would just be empty. The reason I need something like this, one, to help this code not look so ugly, but two, this assembled profile, the new profile we just calculated. So look at the top 8, and based on this top 8, this is the code we're going to generate. The whatever code makes the box, formats the pictures in 2 rows of 4, or whatever we decide to do. Whatever code makes up that section to look pretty on the profile when it's rendered, we have to plug that code in here. And so instead of having, $current section equals just a whole bunch of garbage right here, we just have a function. I could literally replace this with I could literally do that because let me wrap this in parentheses. That's probably what it wants. Yeah. So then that's done for me, and I know what's going on, and I don't need to know the minutia of what this is doing if I'm just looking at this code. But if I want to, in VS Code, I can just right click this, go to definition, or press F12, and it'll take you to, hey, what code is that generating? So it just makes this look pretty when you have these little helper functions. I probably should put this stuff in a function too. Get start index, get end index, things like that, just to make this look pretty. And then you just have a line of functions, and if you name the functions properly, the code looks nice, and you know what's going on based on the name of the function, and it just makes troubleshooting much easier. Oh, cool. Cool. We're making progress. So my son is sleeping right now. I keep peeking to make sure he's not waking up. He was up just all night. So he took an early nap. Usually he naps at like noon, but he was up at like 3 o'clock. So I've been chugging some coffee. Okay, so what do we need to do now? We've got, this is empty right now. We've got our comparison. The reason we need to output stuff here is because in the GitHub Action, there's output. And so if someone's wondering, why isn't my code running? Like, let's look at this is one I made. PowerShell Gallery, update. If we come into here, it ran the checkout. And so this is output from this action. This is just what it puts out. Here's the output from my script. So I'm going to be pumping all of this back. Because there was no update, it does this and quits. But if the PS Gallery downloads was bigger, then I'd have a whole section of, hey, updating the README, blah, 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 publishing. We can look at that code real quick just to make sure I'm not crazy. Scripts. So in PowerShell, when I write these verbose messages, it's actually not writing verbose. Yes, it is. Oh, no, it's not doing verbose. Okay, so here, these are helper functions. So I've got a function, get PowerShell Gallery downloads, which is all this nonsense. I've got another function, get the current downloads listed in my profile, which is just regex. Oh yeah, select string. I have anyway, it just finds the number in the big link. Can I scroll here? My mouse scroll is not working. Okay. So here's the actual, this code looks much nicer. PS Gallery downloads equals get PS Gallery downloads. grab these 2 module downloads. This is that function I wrote up above, but this code looks so simple. So that's why I just like writing everything into these small little functions. Profile downloads is this. And so this is what the first output you see, write output, current PS gallery downloads. This is 282, and 282 is listed in my profile. And then I do a comparison. If the PowerShell gallery downloads is bigger than my profile, then I need to write out some more stuff, updating the README. And here's some func to do that. And then I push code. And these commands have their own output. So GitHub would see the output of a git commit message. Here's where I'm posting some. I need to write this stuff here so that in my commit, it shows that I made the commit and it's not like some separate weird Matthew DeGarmo entity. So I just set this stuff manually. My name and my email here, and then an actual git commit message, and then git push. There was a weird issue. If git push would ever error, it just like blew up and my build would fail, even if it didn't actually fail. So I found out you can add this quiet here. And so it'll do the push, but it just shuts up. It doesn't post any errors or any output. So I had to do this because this would be successful, but the way the output came out, it would fail the build, even though it all worked. So I just added this -- quiet here. But writing output in PowerShell, the GitHub Action catches that. That's the whole point of going through this. I'm just showing you it's logged what happened. So right now I should have output that says, not publishing anything because these are the same. I should post that message, but I'm not. So anyway, that's why I want to write out stuff like this. So if I ever need to look at the log of the build in GitHub, or anyone can look at the log, I want this to be so accurate. They need to know what went wrong, what were the values. So we'll clean this up later. Once we know what we're doing, we'll write all those output messages so that the code looks nice, and I'll add comments and things. I usually comment as I write code, but I just wanted to get this figured out first. So we can compare strings. We can compare an entire README to another README. And if they're different, then I need to overwrite the original and commit and push that code up to that person's profile. So what do we need to do next? We can do the compare. What we need to do next is actually work on what code we're going to generate and how we're going to make this top 8 actually look. How do I render a box and put top 8 and put pictures in here? And how am I going to create the formatting for that? I might have to do HTML. I think HTML can do boxes and throw colors in the box. And I'll have to create like a 4x2 table, just so I have, 2 rows of 4. And then in each one of those cells, I can put HTML or Markdown that says, hey, put a picture in here. And the picture should be, here's the username from the text file, grab their GitHub photo. There's a way to grab people's photos with links. I have it here somewhere in my blog. I think it's this. Will this open with code? Yep. So this renders my blog, and this is all public, so who cares? I am grabbing my GitHub photo from a URL. Here we go. I can plug this into a browser, and it'll get me the photo that I've uploaded for my GitHub. But I could change this to anybody. Let's just go. Oops, is there a D here? I always forget. There we go. So here's Tyler Leonhardt. Was on the PowerShell extension team at Microsoft, and he just got moved over to the VS Code team. But I can grab his GitHub picture in this format. So here's my URL template. Just replace the username with whatever 8 users that people are providing. And I can grab pictures, and that's how getting the pictures is easy. It's extra stuff. Do I want to include like this message somehow? This is getting into the actual GitHub API. I don't know how far I want to go. I might just want to do pictures and show their username centered below that. That would be simple. So the next time I stream, I think I'll have to do some research on the HTML to make that happen. I don't like for these. This is an actual photo. This is an endpoint that someone's created. And if I make a certain API call to that endpoint with a username, I want this to be dark, I want this color for the icons, it just creates this photo for me. And so it's this big, long, disgusting thing that makes this photo. I guess let's look at that actual code. I'm saying I don't want to do this, but GitHub stats. Yeah, so it's this GitHub README stats Vercel app. Someone made an app, an endpoint that I can add some parameters. So the user I'm looking for, the GitHub stats I want are for Matthew J. DeGarmo. I want it to show the icons on the left, include my private repo commits. I want the dark theme, include all my commits. Here's the height, and refresh every 1800 seconds. So I don't want to do that. I don't know how to do that. I would just rather have the raw HTML built in and just, like this, post all this HTML here. These are all my icons for my socials. So here's a link to a picture. And when you click that picture, this specific picture, the LinkedIn, it takes you to my LinkedIn URL. That's basically what I'd like to create here. Have a table, names and faces. And if you click on the face, it also has their GitHub profile link behind the scenes, and it'll take you there. And I'm pretty sure I can just home bake some HTML for that. Now there's edge cases. What if someone provides only 7 names or 6? Do I want it to break? Do I want it to make a box of 6 and just, randomly put Tom as 2 of them somewhere? I'll have to be clever with that. But I think for next time, that's what we'll do, is we need to research the HTML for this. And then in our code, we just plug that in. This will give us that section code. So it'll be their profile, this HTML section that makes my top 8 and whatever's after it. And I can compare that to what's their current profile. So if it's the first time it's ever ran, obviously they're not going to be equal. This will have a whole new section in here, not equal to the original. It's going to commit. But then the next hour that it goes and checks that file, generates the code, compares them, the code should be the exact same. Nothing should have changed. It's only if they go to their, top 8 users.txt file and maybe move somebody up. Back in the day, that was a big deal. Oh, Jessica's number 3 now. I can't believe her. Whatever. It used to be a big deal. If that changes, obviously the code is going to change, because that's going to move a table up and it's just going to be in a different order. Even if it's the same code in a different order, this will not be equal. So then it will need to publish new code, and then you'll see that reflected. That person moves up, the other person moves down, whatever. So I think this is great progress. I don't know why I thought I was going to have to make my own container for this. I was just sitting thinking, how does GitHub do it? I'm already pulling an Ubuntu container image from somewhere, wherever GitHub, whoever they use for their provider. I don't know if they use Docker or what, but GitHub provides me a container to use. I don't need to do it myself. So I don't even know how to make Docker work on this virtual machine. there's some setting in the BIOS I have to change, and this is a virtual machine. I don't know how to get into the BIOS of that. So anyway, I think that's what we'll do next time. I'm going to be done. My son's still sleeping, but I don't want to push the envelope. Once I start this next section, I'm not going to want to stop. So if he wakes up, I would just rather be done streaming. So thanks everybody for watching. Remember, I have the chat up. If you ever want to chat during this, have questions, have any questions for me, like, hey, what's your favorite color? Whatever, just put that in the chat. I will see that. I'd love to chat with you guys. What else? Yeah, this is still new. I still don't have a schedule. I just happened to, today's a holiday for me. I don't have to work, so I'm streaming, but I don't yet have a schedule of when I'm going to stream regularly. So once I have that, that'll show up on my, I'll throw that on my Twitch profile here. Oops, I don't want to stream myself. That's weird. But it'll, it shows now live, but eventually, you know, if I say, you know, stream every Thursday at 2, once I'm done streaming, there'll be a countdown here. You know, 4 more days and 7 hours till he streams. So that's actually really cool. I've been playing with Twitch and how to do all this stuff. One more thing. So on my Streamlabs posts a tweet, because this is all new to me. Maybe you guys know this, but Streamlabs is tied into my Twitter. So when I go live, it sends a tweet, and I include a link in there, live.matthewjdegarmo.com. And so I just figured this out, which is really cool. I have a domain, a website. This is hosted in GitHub. That's what we looked at a little bit ago. My blog code is in GitHub. It's a Jenkins template. So I have a blog, which is really cool. So I own the MatthewJDeGarmo.com domain. What I found out I can do is I can make subdomains at will. So I made a subdomain for like every social media that I have. When I go live, you don't have to remember my Twitch handle or anything like that. You can just go to live.matthewjdegarmo.com. And that is true for LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Just instagram.matthewjdegarmo.com, facebook.matthewjdegarmo.com. So if you ever want to find me on anything, I've got Reddit. I've got all the things. Or if you want to donate, I have donate.matthewjdegarmo.com. So if you ever need to look me up anywhere, you want to add me or reach out, send me a message, that's how you can find me. If most social media places, my handle is Matthew J. DeGarmo, but not everywhere. So I don't even know which ones are different. So I just thought this would be a great way. You guys don't have to remember that. I just want Matthew J. DeGarmo's LinkedIn. And so you can go to that website. It'll just forward you. LinkedIn.MatthewJDeGarmo.com. This will just forward you to my LinkedIn profile. So easy way to find me on whatever you want to reach out on. The one I haven't figured out is Discord. If I can make a link to my Discord user account. And if you have Discord, it should just, that link should open up in Discord and you can add me or whatever. I haven't figured that out yet, but go ahead and try that out. I'm going to take off. Again, I don't want to push the envelope. Son's still sleeping. I am going to try to keep uploading these to YouTube. Once I'm done and everything, I'll upload this to YouTube. I'm not streaming live to YouTube yet because that costs monies. And I'm a married man, so I got a budget. So I have not done that yet, but eventually if I get like Streamlabs Prime or whatever, I'll start going live on all the things. And I think YouTube will automatically just keep that on my channel. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm going to take off. Thanks for joining. This will be on YouTube soon. This is fun. This is very new for me. I'm learning a lot. I was hoping to learn more about Docker doing this, but I don't actually need to use Docker. So that's kind of a relief, but kind of like, I needed an excuse to use it so I could learn, but some other project. I've got other projects lined up. This is just the first one that I wanted to start this stream with. So yeah, we've made a lot of progress and I know exactly what we need to do for the next one. So we will continue that next time. Thank you so much, guys, for hanging out. Again, if you want to follow me on Twitch, when I'm live, send me chats. I will respond and talk to you guys. That'd be so much fun. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.